Hey everybody, remember, if you want to see the full version of this podcast episode, be sure to check the link in the description below to head over to our archive channel.
So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the largest announcement, I would say, arguably the largest. It's the longest awaited announcement. Longest awaited, my apologies. The Voltron LEGO Ideas set. Oh my goodness. We had known this, I think it's one of, if not the only idea set that was kind of, when they made the announcement, when it was in review, they said, all right, so we're going to make our announcements. These are the sets that are going to be, sets. And they picked one, I don't remember which, and then they said, however, we're still talking about Voltron. And it is the only one where it's like, they had to say, hey, we're not disqualifying it, we're still talking about it.
They really wanted to do it.
Yes, they really wanted to do it. And I know at least very specifically, Tooth Dominoes, who is a set designer over at LEGO, Tooth Dominoes on Twitter. Fantastic fellow. I recently had him on my show with a few other set designers. He discussed exactly how heavily he tried to get this to work. He worked very hard on this, and he was a very large driving force between trying to get this to work out. Yeah. So let's discuss it.
Honestly, like, seeing his Gurren Lagann box, I honestly can't think of a better person they could have chosen to make this. It's like right up his alley.
Put it in the good hands, the right hands.
Yeah, like literally, it's like this set was custom made specifically for this guy to make. So that's really cool that he got a chance to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that they have the transformation thing like that. It's just so perfect for LEGO, and it looks.
It really adds value to this set too.
And so thought out. I'm so tempted to pick it up. I'm just not too into Voltron, so I don't really want to use that much money on something that I'm not just a huge fan of. But man, this set looks good. Like, I really want LEGO to just delve into a new mech theme.
I really wish
stuff
they
like
do
this
more
would be
mechs.
so great.
Like a theme specifically around mechs would be great.
Yeah, they had it once and it was awesome.
We need Nexto Force.
Oh my gosh. Slight clarification. Kevin Hingle in the YouTube chat said that it's actually happened a few different times. Project X, quote unquote, still being considered, and some have even been dropped after that. So, fair enough. But
fake news, Eljay strikes again.
Listen, what the heck, dude?
Wow, Eljay. Wow.
Oh my gosh, I really am back at TTV.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna pick this one up when I get the chance to. I'm a huge fan of the LEGO mechs, and I really want to support that avenue. I want them to keep making more of those. It's the closest thing to construction I think I'll ever get at this point. So, I definitely want to get.
How much
it
is
looks
it?
really cool.
It's $180.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty pricey, but I mean,
How many parts?
There's a lot of pieces here. I think 2,200 something. I want to say
2,321.
There we go.
And lots of colors and lots of joints. I think every aspect is good.
Yeah, I believe that puts the price per part down to 7 cents, 7 point something cents.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. It's a good value.
It's a masterpiece of a model, that's for sure. And I want them to keep making mechs, so I think it's good to support.
Are you just
if you like it?
Are you priming us with positivity before
I
we
am.
get into negativity? Okay.
Yep.
I am indeed doing
Figured as
that.
much.
I think it's really important for LEGO to keep making mechs, so they can keep finding out ways to improve the mech formula, so they can perhaps
Stop putting
devote
Batman in mechs, LEGO.
so they can
Have
perhaps
enough of
devote
those.
a certain amount of time and money to
Meso,
Put
spit it out.
original
Spit
characters
it out.
in
Way.
mechs.
to give
Before
mechs
you-
knees.
Before you
It
start,
is.
before you start getting into the knee thing, I also want to point out another positive thing, not about the set at all, but the art design for the box is really good.
Yes.
So,
It's one of the best boxes they've done. Honestly, like it's
right.
incredibly
it's so
vibrant.
nostalgic. It's so good. It really stands on its like I remember Voltron being one of the hottest toys back when I was a kid. Like I don't know what company sold it, but it was like a Voltron action figure. You could buy each line individually, and if you got all of them, you could build the Voltron robot, and it was the coolest thing ever. So I know that this set is going to appeal to so many AFOLs out there. Like I can't. I want it. You know, it's really cool.
It's
Anyway.
incredible, and it's an excellent way to pay homage to the franchise. I think anybody who's a fan of Voltron is going to love it. Well, without a doubt. So in that aspect, it being a LEGO Ideas set, it being a licensed set, it succeeds without a doubt. Let's talk.
All right.
Let's talk
Tell us
nitty
what you hate
gritty.
about it. Yep.
Well, it's just one of those things. You know, it doesn't just not have knees. It also doesn't have hip articulation. It also doesn't have ankle articulation. So, it has basically no articulation. Like one out of
huge, though.
3, forgivable. 3 out of 3, not forgivable. And you're right, it is huge. It's literally impossible for them to do it. To Domino's exact quote. Seriously though, no knees in Voltron, no hip or ankle either. With a model this size, we cannot do that. Believe me, we tried. And you know what? I do believe him. I completely believe him.
I believe him.
he exhausted every single avenue possible to the design team. So, is it a fault of the set designer? No. It's just one of those things they need to figure out a way around this problem. And by they, I mean just LEGO in general. They need to construct a new durable type of joint that can handle more weight. Because when
Yeah.
you have a mech, I was saying this off air, I was like, okay, so vehicles. Vehicles are cool to play with for kids. You can move them around, you can swish them around, you can also display them if you want. Buildings are cool for display. They can sit there and look cool, but they're landscapes. They have functions occasionally, but they also have minifigures, so you can create dioramas, you can create a living, breathing city, you can like reorient everything. That's the purpose of that. Mechs, their purpose is to be posable, like action figures, in a sense. When you're not able to do that, you lose the purpose behind a mech, IMO, and it basically becomes just a statue. And at that point, yeah.
Have you made an articulated system-based Lego mecha though?
No, nor do I have to be able to criticize.
I know, but I'm just saying joints are a pain.
They are a pain. It certainly gave me a tough time when I was making my Farah mock.
Yeah.
Stability, dude.
I do think that it's highly possible for LEGO to come up with a solution to this, though. They need to do something, but we need some kind of new part to act as the joint. I think they were kind of on to something with the ball joint extension thing. I forget what it's called. The friction joint.
Friction joint adder.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good solution. So something similar to that, maybe, or maybe
For larger
something,
scale.
or maybe to revisit the racket joint, because the racket joint, we've had that joint for a very long time, and it's surprisingly very weak. It works in certain like sizes, but like I tried to use the racket joints for my Farah mock, and it did not work at all. I had to switch to ball joints, and yeah. So I feel like the racket joint can work because other companies use rackets.
Can you post
in
a
their...
picture of the joint you're...
It's the one that was with Knight's Kingdom.
Yeah.
For the joints in Knight's Kingdom. All right, here. I'll
Like
find it.
for a mech of this size, I don't expect them to use the friction
King's
joint.
mech?
No, Knight's Kingdom.
Yeah.
The Knight's
Oh.
Kingdom construction.
2000.
Oh,
Or-
those.
Essentially
Yeah,
ratchet
Those
click joint.
are, those are terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The little click joint thing.
Well, it's that design philosophy that they would have to use. I do not expect a mech of this size to have a fully swiveling ball joint. I
Yeah,
think
ball joints
that's,
might be too much for it.
that's a step too far. But ratchet joints that you can click into a variety of poses that can be reinforced to be sturdy, I think that's an achievable goal if
Yeah,
enough time and money was put into developing it.
What I was saying was that other companies use racket joint systems for larger scale figures like this with similar weight capacity. It's possible. It's just a thing that they need to revisit. They need to look at a solution to that, a stronger ratcheting joint that maybe has less. I would even sacrifice less movement than the current one for stronger, posability. Like if it can hold that pose better, then I think that's the better solution here. Because any posability is better than no posability at this point. So
True
Yeah,
that.
I feel that I mentioned on Twitter that this looked like an absolutely phenomenal set, and I stand by that. I think that it looks unbelievably incredible. I think that it's easy for me to say that it is the best LEGO mech yet, just given its sheer size, the construction, like looking at it, it's so smooth but detailed at the same time. It's intricate. Like, you can see the individual pieces that go into the detailing. It's evident to me that there was a lot of time and effort spent on this. It was a passion project. It had so much love and care poured into the design. So I personally believe it is easily the best LEGO mech yet. That being said, I do partially agree with Meso. Given how much of a fan I was of Exoforce, where the majority of the mechs had articulation in the knees and elbows, to me, having a mech with limited articulation is borderline unacceptable. It does not make for a good mech. I definitely agree that there is some credence to it being statuesque. I don't think that I'm going to get this set, not because that is a deal breaker for me, because I got the Fire mech from Ninjago movie line, simply because I just don't have a vested interest in Voltron. I'm not familiar with the source material. I've never seen any of the shows, not the old one, not the Netflix show. I don't really know if I will right now. So the figure itself, it looks fantastic, but I do agree the fact that there is no articulation is a massive downside, especially, in the leg area. Obviously, the arms have some decent amount of articulation. Those look fine. But at the same time...
It's just a shame.
Yeah, exactly. It is a shame. But at the same time, there's so much more to the set. Like, it can combine, it can disassemble into... All these separate models could have easily been released as individual sets. It could have been a Voltron wave.
Yeah, it could have.
It's
And
added
really cool.
value.
But at the same time, as cool as I think it is, and I personally am a huge fan of it, it almost does seem like it's kind of just what is the word for it? I don't know. It feels kind of empty though, because like the idea of all the lions being able to combine into the set is awesome. It's a nice little like idea, but once you have it, you're not gonna like really play with the lions much, right? I mean, this set is a display set. IMO. I would think it's a display set because there's limited articulation in the set itself. So in terms of actually playing with it, I can't imagine a lot of kids would be that interested in something like this. When I was a kid, I hated statues. I wanted something I could play with.
They definitely come off as being like dependent on being combined into the main thing.
Yeah, there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it at the moment.
Shallow?
Around shallow. Yeah, that's not the word I was thinking of, but that kind of does.
Listen, for me, the common response to a lot of this when people say, articulation, the response is, well, are you really going to play with it? A $180 mech? Are you going to play with it? You're an adult. Are you going to swish it around the room and fight?
This isn't something to play with.
For me, no, I wouldn't play with it. At the same time, when you buy something that large, there's a certain amount of like value in terms of functionality that I associate with the model. What it can do versus what I will actually do with it are two separate scales, if that makes any sense. One's objective, one's subjective. And when this really can't do anything besides stand there.
Well, for me, the articulation has nothing to do with being able to play with it, the ability to play with it. It's because of why you're purchasing the set to begin with, right? 'Cause like I mentioned, this is not something to play with; it's something to display with, or display.
You can't display it in
and
cool
you can't
poses.
display it. The only thing you can put it in is the single statuesque pose,
like the Hulkbuster, which is horrible.
Like the Hulk, exactly. And like I collect Gunpla, and I think Gunpla is really cool. But I also like to put those things in really cool and dynamic poses, and that is like part of the value of that whole thing for me is the ability to not only build it, but to also create really cool action scenes with them. And that's something I would love to do with this Voltron set because it's so gorgeous and so beautiful and awesome, and I want to give it the justice it deserves by giving it a really cool pose that you can't do. The only thing you can do is have it stand there like a derp. and it's cool that he can move his arms and his legs a little bit, but like when you lack knees and you lack ankles,
And
that
hips.
limits and hips, you don't have any poses that you can do. So at that point, you just kind of have him saluting, and not even saluting. He's just like holding his arm out like an idiot. That's all you can do with him.
T-pose.
So at that point, you might as well just keep him standing still as a statue. So when you get rid of the knees and the ankles, you might as well at this point just get rid of all the joints because there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah, just don't even make a mech.
It's superfluous.
So for the record though, King's mech from Nexo Knights is still the best mech. So if you're looking for like the best Lego mech for your value, then that's still the
Fair enough, man.
top of the leaderboard. You know, king of the castle. You know, nothing's gonna beat that yet. Not even the Batman mech. So we'll just gonna have to wait and see what Lego has
Batman
to
Mech
offer.
got nothing on King's Mech.
Yeah, boy.
I am the Wolf. No fam. It's the Quake mech. I agree.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, Quake mech is dope. That's a really good mech.
Yeah. I don't know. And
Oh.
again, just to reiterate, I don't criticize To the Dominoes. I criticize just Legos existing.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to do it.
There was
'cause-
apparently like there's a process that this goes through. It goes through or like a quality control of sorts, and it just he's mentioned this. It just didn't work out. Like he really did try very hard to get it so that we could do more. But I understand his thought process that he's mentioned on Twitter.
And I absolutely believe him too, because like I mentioned earlier, he did a Gurren Lagann mock, and I believe looking at his Flickr, that is in a similar scale to this, and it has knees, so it's not like he doesn't know how to do it. But I imagine that simply having knees isn't enough. It needs to be able to have knees while also maintaining its weight and being able to stand consistently.
Yeah,
And
for
that's
long
the
periods
problem.
of time.
The quality control there is the thing.
Yeah.
So
So I get the reasoning.
Essentially, that's it.
I understand the rationale. Like, I mean, I mentioned during my show when I was talking to Tooth Dominoes that, he is the sole reason I ended up going to pick up the Fire Mech from the Lego Ninjago movie line. Because his rationale as to why it didn't have knee articulation, it kind of struck a chord with me. It's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. This mech is cool. Now that I understand that kind of background information, I'm going to try it out. No regrets. Phenomenal set. I'm absolutely certain this will be too. But I will absolutely, any day of the week, acknowledge, yes, the lack of articulation is a massive flaw. To me, it certainly does bring down the quality of the experience. However, at the same time, there are other experiences you can glean from this, such as the building experience. Is it fun to build? Is it fun to have on your shelf? Is it fun to attempt to play with? And the combining. I think there's such a massive amount of value here.
As Ronimus Prime says in the chat, as a Voltron fan, what I like is that it does still combine. Combining is a key aspect of Voltron, the same way transforming is a key aspect of Transformers. So, touche to that. For Voltron fans, it checks the box.
Does this set have any spring shooters, shape or form, at all?
I don't believe so. This is really fantastic. Coco, who is a moderator on our message boards and in the audience chat right now, he said, according to Tooth Domino's brick set, he went through 20 different versions of the complete model before it was accepted.
I can see that completely, given the combining feature and like perfecting that to the point that it's as smooth as it is. You can see it in like the pictures how refined it is, and like it looks really smooth now, which means that at some point it was incredibly messy, and every step he took was to just simplify something that was just ultimately too excessive.
Yeah.
So I applaud this. Once again, I think it's the best Lego mech thus far. I think there is still room for improvement as far as mechs as a whole go, but it's wonderful. I think it's great. Definitely worth the expectation that people have been kind of hyping up.
Good use of Lego ideas.
Yes.
For once.
Absolutely.
It's not a gray box. It has lots of color. It's not something you usually get from Lego. It gets all the check boxes. It's good. This is what we want. Not Star Wars boxes.
Yeah.
Please, no more Star Wars.
This is the antithesis to Star Wars.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see the full version of this podcast, head over to the link in the description, or click the annotation on the screen to head over to our archive channel, where you can view all of our episodes in full. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.